The shuttle doors opened with a soft hiss. 60 new cadets walked into the massive landing bay of Station Orvith, the most famous military academy in the known galaxy. Species from 100 different worlds had trained here. Warriors, soldiers, and commanders had learned their craft in these halls for over 500 years. Instructor Palak stood near the entrance, watching the new arrivals with cold, careful eyes. He was tall, nearly 7 feet, and his body was made of living crystal that caught the light in strange ways. He had trained thousands of cadets. He had seen every species the galaxy had to offer. Nothing surprised him anymore. Then he saw the human. Una Park was small. She stood only 5 feet tall and weighed perhaps 50 kilograms. Her black hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. She wore the same gray uniform as everyone else, and she carried her regulation pack on her back without any sign of struggle. She walked with quiet confidence, her dark eyes taking in everything around her. She was the first human female to ever enter the combat track at the academy. The other cadets noticed her immediately. A massive reptilian creature named Dravak laughed out loud. He was from the warrior world of Kreth, and his species was known throughout the galaxy for their thick armored scales and deadly claws. He stood nearly 8 feet tall and weighed 5 times what Una weighed. "Look at this," Dravak said to his friends. "The humans send us their smallest, their weakest. This is what they think can compete with real warriors." His packmates laughed with him. There were 3 of them, all Krethians, all massive and armored and proud. Una did not respond. She did not even look at them. She simply walked past, found her assigned barracks, and began unpacking her equipment with calm, precise movements. Her bunkmate was a Sylvani named Elri. The Sylvani were a graceful species, tall and thin with 4 eyes and skin that shifted colors with their emotions. They were known for diplomacy and art, not combat. Elri looked at Una with something like pity. "Perhaps you would be happier in the diplomatic corps," Elri said gently. "The combat track is very difficult. Many cadets do not survive the training. Species from lighter gravity worlds especially struggle here." Una looked up at her. "Earth's gravity is 9.8 meters per second squared." Elri blinked all 4 of her eyes. "That is nearly double the galactic average." "I know." Elri said nothing more. She did not know what to make of this small, quiet human. The first week at the academy was dedicated to evaluation. Every cadet went through medical examinations, equipment fittings, and academic tests. The academy needed to understand what each cadet could do before training began. When Una's medical results came back, the doctors gathered around the display screen in confused silence. Dr. Voss was a Tellurian, a species with many tentacles instead of arms. His tentacles twitched with agitation as he read the numbers. "This cannot be correct," he muttered. "Our bone density is far beyond normal parameters. Our muscle fiber composition is unlike anything in our database. There must be an error in the equipment." They ran the tests again. There was no error. The numbers showed that Una's bones were dense and strong, built to support movement in heavy gravity. Her muscles were packed with both fast and slow twitch fibers, giving her both explosive power and incredible endurance. Her cardiovascular system was remarkably efficient. Her body temperature was higher than most species, her metabolism faster, her healing capability significant. But the other cadets did not see these numbers. They saw only a small, quiet girl who kept to herself. They saw someone who ate strange cooked foods in the mess hall. Someone who slept only 7 hours when most species needed 12 or more. Someone who looked like prey. Dravak decided to make her life difficult. He knocked her food tray from her hands in the mess hall. He shoved past her in the corridors, nearly throwing her into walls. He whispered words like weak and fragile loud enough for everyone to hear. His packmates joined in, making her path to classes an obstacle course of casual cruelty. Yuna never responded. She never got angry. She never complained. She just picked up her tray, walked around the obstacles, and continued with her day. Her dark eyes watched everything, but she said nothing. Some cadets thought she was scared. Some thought she was stupid. Some thought she simply did not understand what was happening. Instructor Palax watched all of this from a distance. He had read the classified briefings on humans. He knew things about their species that most of the galaxy had not yet learned. He knew about their evolutionary history, about the planet they called Earth, about their strange and terrifying capacity for survival. He said nothing to the other cadets. He gave no warnings. He offered no protection. Let them learn, he thought. Let them all learn what a human really is. Tomas Kim was the only other human at the academy. He was assigned to the engineering track, not combat, but he sought Yuna out one evening in the observation deck. The deck had massive windows that showed the stars drifting slowly past as the station rotated. Tomas was tall and broad, built like the humans the galaxy expected to see. He stood beside Yuna and watched the stars. "They do not understand what they are dealing with," he said quietly. "I know. The Crethians think they are the ultimate predators because they have armor and claws." Tomas shook his head. They evolved on a world with a 12-hour day cycle and only one major predator, which they hunted to extinction 1,000 years ago. Yuna's lips curved slightly. Humans hunted mammoths with wooden sticks, while running them to death over 3 days. Tomas laughed softly. "I have seen Dravak species in the survival simulations. They can sprint fast, but then they collapse. Their bodies cannot handle extended effort. I noticed. You are holding back." It was not a question. Yuna turned to look at him. In the starlight, her eyes held something ancient and patient. The gaze of a species that had never stopped being hunters. The gaze of a people who had carried the memory of the hunt across thousands of years and into the stars themselves. "The combat exam is in 3 weeks," she said. "It is designed to test us against simulated threats. But Instructor Palax has the power to change the exam however he wants. I have studied his past exams, and he likes surprises." The combat exam was coming, and Unipark was ready to show the galaxy what humans could really do. Life at the academy followed a brutal schedule. Every morning, the cadets ran across the station's training tracks. These tracks could change their gravity, forcing the cadets to adapt to different conditions. After running, they went to classrooms to study combat theory. After theory, they trained with weapons of every kind, from plasma rifles to molecular blades that could cut through steel. Yuna excelled at theory. Her written exams came back with perfect scores. Her tactical analyses were so detailed that Instructor Palax sometimes paused to read them twice. She understood angles of attack, defensive formations, and psychological warfare at a deep level. Her mind worked like a weapon, but theory did not earn respect at the academy. In physical training, Yuna was always in the middle of the group. Never first, never last. She ran fast enough to keep pace. She lifted weights that were heavy enough to pass. She scored well enough on every test. Nothing remarkable. Nothing impressive. The cadets who bothered to notice her assumed she was struggling. They thought she was barely keeping up. They looked at her small body and saw weakness. They did not see the truth. Yuna was holding back. She never pushed herself to her limits during training. She never showed what she could really do. She watched and learned and waited. The combat exam was coming, and she had plans. 2 days before the exam, Dravak decided to teach Yuna a lesson. He found her in an empty training room after dinner. She was alone, reading through tactical information on her datapad. The room was quiet. The lights were dim. Drevuk walked in with 3 of his packmates. Korath was the biggest, nearly as large as Drevuk himself. Vexus was fast and cruel. Aselin was quiet but dangerous. They blocked the exits and surrounded Yuna. "We are going to teach you something they do not cover in class," Drevuk growled. His scales shifted as he moved, reflecting the dim light. "We are going to teach you where you belong in the hierarchy." Yuna set down her datapad. "This is a mistake." The only mistake was the humans thinking they could compete with real warriors. Drevuk stepped closer. His claws extended from his fingers, each one as long as a knife. "Your species is soft, fragile. You have no armor, no claws, no weapons built into your bodies. You are prey animals pretending to be predators." Yuna stood up slowly. She was calm. Her breathing was steady. Her dark eyes watched Drevuk without fear. "I will give you one chance to walk away," she said quietly. Drevuk laughed. His packmates laughed with him. Then he lunged. What happened next took exactly 4 seconds. Yuna did not step back. She did not try to block his attack. Instead, she moved forward into his reach, inside the range of his claws. Before Drevuk could understand what was happening, her palm struck his throat. The blow was precise and powerful. His breath stopped. Her knee came up and hit a nerve cluster on his inner thigh. Pain exploded through his leg, and his balance failed. As he started to fall, her elbow cracked against his temple. Drevuk hit the floor. He could not breathe. He could not think. He did not understand how his target had become his attacker. His packmates stood frozen. They had seen Krethian warriors fight many times. They had never seen anything like this. Yuna stepped back. Her hands hung loose at her sides. Her breathing had not changed. She had not broken a sweat. "Humans do not have armor," she said. Her voice was calm and cold. "We do not have claws or fangs or venom. So we learned other things. We learned where every species is soft. We learned where every species breaks." She looked at the 3 remaining Krethians. "I know 11 ways to kill each of you with my bare hands. I know 6 ways to do it without causing pain. Would you like me to continue the lesson?" They ran. All 3 of them turned and fled from the training room without looking back. Yuna walked over to Drevuk. He was still on the floor, gasping for air, trying to understand what had happened. She reached down and helped him to his feet. He stared at her. His eyes were wide. In them, she saw something new. Not anger. Not hatred. Not even shame. Fear. "The combat exam is in 2 days, Yuna said. You should rest that leg." She picked up her datapad and walked out of the room. Drevuk stood there alone, shaking. Later that night, Drevuk found Korath in their shared quarters. The big Krethian was sitting in silence, his scales still pale with shock. "What happened?" Korath asked. "How did she do that?" Drevuk shook his head slowly. "I do not know. I have fought many opponents. Large opponents. Dangerous opponents. I have never lost so quickly." He looked down at his claws. "She moved like water. Like she knew exactly where I would be before I was there. Should we report her?" "She attacked you." "No." Drevuk's voice was firm. "I attacked her. She defended herself." He paused. "And if we report her, everyone will know what happened. Everyone will know that 4 Krethian warriors could not defeat 1 small human female." Korath understood. Their reputation would be destroyed. Then what do we do? Drevuk thought for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet. "We watch. We learn. And we stay away from Unipark." But fate had other plans. When the team assignments for the combat exam were announced the next morning, Drevak found himself assigned to Team 7. His teammates were Elri the Sylvani, Gorath the rock creature from the heavy world of Dundarin, and Unipark. He would not be staying away from her after all. Instructor Palak stood before the assembled cadets and explained the exam. The combat exam is not about winning. It is about survival. You will work in randomly assigned teams of 4. Your objective is simple. Survive for 6 hours, reach the extraction point, and signal for retrieval. He paused. His crystalline body caught the light. This year, I have designed something special. You will face a scenario none of you have trained for. Drevak looked at Yuna. She was smiling. It was not a comforting smile. The simulation arena was the largest chamber in Station Orvith. It could create any environment, any weather, any threat. Mountains could rise from the floor. Oceans could fill the space. Cities could appear from nothing. The technology was ancient and powerful, created by species that had disappeared long before humans reached the stars. 64 cadets stood in the arena, divided into 16 teams of 4. They wore combat armor and carried standard weapons. Medical monitors were attached to their bodies to track damage during the simulation. If a cadet took fatal damage, they would be removed from the exam. Everything felt real, even though it was all generated by machines. Team 7 stood together near the center of the arena. Yuna checked her equipment with calm precision. Elri shifted nervously, her skin changing colors with her anxiety. Garth stood like a mountain, his rocky body solid and unmoving. Drevak kept his distance from Yuna, but his eyes never left her. The lights began to dim. The floor beneath their feet started to change. When the simulation activated, Team 7 found themselves in a nightmare. The environment was a ruined city under a blood-red sky. Broken buildings rose around them like the bones of dead giants. Walls had collapsed. Streets were filled with rubble and shadow. Smoke drifted through the air, limiting how far they could see. Perhaps 20 meters at most. And somewhere in the darkness, something was hunting them. "What is this place?" Elri whispered. Her 4 eyes scanned the ruins nervously. "I have never seen anything like this in the training simulations." Yuna recognized it immediately. A cold feeling spread through her chest. "It is Earth," she said quietly. "Or what they imagine Earth was like during our extinction wars. The wars we fought against ourselves, long before we reached the stars." A sound echoed through the ruins. It was not a roar or a scream. It was a clicking, chittering noise that seemed to come from everywhere at once. It bounced off the broken walls and filled the smoke-covered streets. Gorath's rocky body went still. "Clixer," he rumbled. His voice was deep and rough like grinding stones. "They have programmed Clixer." Elri made a sound of pure terror. The Clixer were legends. Horror stories that parents told their children to make them behave. They were an insectoid species that had existed 200 years ago, a hive of mindless predators that had consumed 3 civilizations before being exterminated. They were fast, they were relentless, and they felt no fear. Even in simulations, they were considered the most dangerous opponents the Academy could create. "This is impossible," Drevak said. His scales had gone pale. "Clixer simulations are restricted to final-year cadets only. We are first years. This should not be happening." "Instructor Palaks likes surprises," Yuna murmured. She was already moving, studying the terrain, calculating paths through the rubble. "The extraction point will be at the highest ground. That tower to the northeast. 6 kilometers through hostile territory. 6 kilometers?" Elri's voice cracked with fear. "With Clixer hunting us? We cannot survive that. We will not make it." Garth agreed. His voice was flat and certain. "My people are strong, but slow. We cannot outrun Clixer. Drevak's people can run fast, but only for short distances. Your people, he looked at Elri, are built for neither speed nor strength. We cannot escape them. All three aliens looked at Yuna. She was smiling. It was the smile of a predator. Then we do not run, she said. We hunt. Before anyone could respond, Yuna started moving. She led them through the ruins with quiet confidence, choosing paths that offered cover, avoiding open spaces where they could be ambushed. She moved like she had lived in places like this her whole life. How do you know where to go? Elri asked. Humans evolved in environments like this, Yuna said without stopping. Not ruined cities, but places with limited visibility. Forests, jungles, caves. We learned to read terrain before we learned to read words. 30 minutes into the exam, the first Clixer found them. It burst from a broken building without warning. 3 meters of chitinous horror, with blade arms that gleamed like polished metal and mandibles that clicked with hunger. It moved faster than anything that Psi should be able to move, crossing the distance between them in less than a second. Dravak raised his weapon. His claws were shaking. Do not, Yuna commanded. The Clixer lunged at her. Yuna did not dodge. She pivoted, letting the blade arm pass within centimeters of her face. Then she drove her combat knife up through the joint where the creature's armor plates met. The blade found something vital. The Clixer collapsed, its legs twitching. Their armor is weakest at the joints, Yuna said. She pulled her knife free with a wet sound. 3 centimeters below the second thoracic plate on the left side. Remember that. Elri stared at the fallen creature. You have studied them. The extinct species. Why? Humans study everything that might kill us. Yuna wiped her blade clean. It is how we survived our homeworld. Gareth made a sound that might have been a laugh. Your homeworld trained you for this. Earth trained us for everything. They continued moving through the ruins. The clicking sounds followed them, growing closer, growing louder. More Clixer were coming. The simulation was adapting, learning, sending more threats against them. But Yuna adapted too. She found a defensible position in a partially collapsed building. The walls provided cover. The rubble created choke points that would slow the Clixer down. She positioned Goreth at the main entrance, his massive body blocking the way. She put Dravak on the flank where his speed could be useful. She placed Elri in the center, where her 4 eyes could watch every direction. They will come soon, Yuna said. When they do, stay calm. Follow my commands. Trust each other. Why should we trust you? Dravak asked. His voice was not hostile, just confused. You are human. Your species has been part of the galactic community for less than 100 years. You have no history of great warriors. Yuna looked at him. Her dark eyes held something ancient and patient. My species has been fighting for survival for 300,000 years, she said quietly. We fought ice ages. We fought plagues. We fought predators with teeth as long as your arm. We fought each other in wars that killed millions. And through all of it, we never stopped. We never gave up. We just kept going. She paused. You ask why you should trust me. Because humans do not know how to quit. It is not in our nature. It is not in our blood. We will fight until we win or until we die. There is no third option. The clicking grew louder. Shadows moved in the smoke. They are coming, Elri said, her voice trembling. Yuna raised her weapon. Good. Let them come. The Clixer came in waves. They poured out of the smoke like nightmares given form, their blade arms cutting through the air, their mandibles clicking with hunger. The first wave hit Gareth like water hitting stone. His massive rocky fists crushed chitin and broke limbs. He was a wall that could not be moved. Dravak fought beside him, his claws finding the weak points Yuna had shown them. He was not fighting like a Crethian anymore. He was not trying to overpower his enemies with strength alone. He was thinking, planning, striking where it mattered most. Ari stayed in the center, her 4 eyes watching every direction. She called out warnings when Clixer tried to flank them. Her voice was still shaking, but she did not run. She did not hide. And Yuna moved through the chaos like a ghost. She was everywhere at once. When a Clixer broke through Gorith's defense, she was there to stop it. When Drevak was overwhelmed, she appeared at his side. Her knife found joints and nerve clusters and vital organs with perfect precision. She made killing look easy. The first wave fell. Then the second. Then the third. When the attacks finally stopped, the floor was covered with simulated Clixer bodies. Team 7 stood among them, breathing hard but alive. That was only the beginning, Yuna said. We need to move. The simulation will send more. They moved. Over the next 3 hours, Yuna became more than just a teammate. She became a teacher. She worked with each of them, helping them understand their own strengths in new ways. She was hard but fair, pushing them past what they thought they could do. With Drevak, she was direct. You are thinking like prey, she told him after he froze during an ambush. You are waiting for danger to find you. Stop. You are a predator. Act like one. My people are predators, Drevak argued. We have been hunters for thousands of years. Your people ambush. You strike and retreat. That is not true predation. That is scavenging with extra steps. Her voice was hard but not cruel. True predation is pursuit. It is choosing your moment. It is controlling the fight from beginning to end. She tapped his armored chest. You have natural weapons. Use them, but your greatest weapon is here. She tapped his skull, and you are leaving it unused. Something changed in Drevak after that. He started moving differently, thinking differently, fighting differently. Gorith needed different lessons. His strength was immense. He could lift weights that would crush most species. He could take damage that would kill anyone else. But he had been taught that strength was enough. That being powerful meant he did not need to be smart. You are a wall, Yuna told him. That is valuable. But a wall that does not move is just an obstacle. I need you to be a door that opens and closes when I command. I do not understand, Gorith rumbled. You will. She taught him to move with the team instead of standing alone. She taught him to use his strength at the right moments instead of all the time. She taught him that being powerful and being useful were not the same thing. Ari was the hardest to reach. The Sovani were not meant for combat. Her species solved problems through talking, through compromise, through graceful surrender when necessary. She had joined the combat track to prove something to herself, but faced with real violence. She was paralyzed. Yuna took her aside while the others rested. You think fighting means becoming something you are not, Yuna said quietly. It does not. I cannot do this, Ari whispered. I am not built for violence. I am not like you or Drevak or Gorith. My grandmother was 4 feet 11 inches tall. She survived 3 wars. Do you know how? Elri shook her head. She watched. She listened. She knew when to hide and when to run and when to strike. She was not a warrior. She was a survivor. Yuna took Elri's trembling hands. You see everything with those 4 eyes. You hear sounds I cannot imagine. You can feel vibrations through your skin. Stop trying to be Drevak. Be yourself. Be the one who knows danger is coming before anyone else does. Elri's eyes widened. I can do that. I know you can. 4 hours into the exam, they reached the base of the tower. The extraction point was at the top. Safety was close, but 20 Clixer stood between them and their goal. The other teams were scattered across the simulated city. Some had been eliminated. Some were hiding. Some were fighting losing battles in distant streets. Team 7 should have been among the defeated. The average survival rate against Clixer simulations was only 12%. Yuna had no intention of being average. "Here is the plan," she said. Her voice was steady and calm. "Elri, you can mimic their communication sounds, yes? The clicking they use to talk to each other? Yes, but you are going to draw them east with false signals. Make them think prey is running away from the tower." "I can try." "Dorth, when they move east, you are going to collapse that damaged building on their flank. Not to kill them, to separate their group. Break their coordination. Understood, Drevok?" She met his eyes. "You and I are going through the center. When they are confused, we strike. Fast, brutal, no hesitation." "That is suicide," Drevok said. "That is hunting." She smiled that predator smile again. "Humans used to hunt in groups of 5 or 6. We brought down animals 10 times our size. Do you know our secret?" "What?" "We worked together. Every member of the group knew their role. They trusted each other with their lives." She looked at each of them in turn. "I trust you. Can you trust me?" Gorath nodded without hesitation. Elri nodded, her skin finally settling into a steady color. Drevok held her gaze for a long moment. Then he extended his clawed hand toward her. Among his people, this was the gesture of a warrior offering respect to an equal. "Lead the way, human." The plan worked perfectly at first. Elri's false signals drew most of the Clixer east. Gorath's demolition scattered them into chaos. Yuna and Drevok carved through the center like knives through flesh. But simulations learn. The Clixer began adapting, changing their patterns, working together in new ways. The fight became harder. 2 kilometers from the tower, everything went wrong. A Clixer burst from the rubble directly beneath Elri. Its blade arm pierced her leg before anyone could react. She screamed and fell. Yuna was there instantly, not attacking the creature, but placing herself between it and her fallen teammate. She took a glancing blow to her shoulder. Her armor registered critical damage. She did not care. "Gorath, grab her and go," Yuna shouted. "Drevok, cover them. I will hold them here." "You cannot fight them alone," Drevok roared. "Go." "That is an order." Gorath scooped up Elri and ran toward the tower. Drevok followed, fighting as he retreated, protecting them with every step. Yuna faced the remaining Clixer alone. 8 of them surrounded her. 8 killing machines designed to be the most dangerous opponents in the galaxy. She dropped her rifle. It was empty anyway. Her combat knife was in her left hand. Her right arm hung useless at her side. She smiled, and then she attacked. In the observation chamber above the arena, Instructor Palox watched with the other teachers. The massive displays showed every team in the simulation. Most screens showed elimination or retreat. One screen showed something impossible. Unipark was fighting 8 Clixer by herself. "She's going to die," said Professor Zell, the Academy's tactics instructor. "No one survives a solo engagement against 8 Clixer. The mathematics do not allow it." Palox said nothing. He just watched. On the screen, Yuna was moving, not retreating, not defending, attacking. She had dropped her rifle and held only her knife in her left hand. Her right arm was damaged and useless. Blood soaked her uniform. She was grinning. The first Clixer reached her. She ducked under its blade on, pivoted around its body, and drove her knife into the joint behind its head. Before it fell, she was already moving toward the second. She used the falling body as a shield against the third Clixer's attack. While it tried to push through its dead companion, she pulled a plasma grenade from her belt and rolled it between the legs of 3 more. The explosion scattered them. Kayan cracked. Limbs broke. Our pain readings are... Professor Zell checked his display twice. The monitors show she has received damage that should be completely disabling. She should not be able to move. She's not even slowing down. Humans call it adrenaline, Palak said quietly. His crystalline voice was soft with something that sounded like respect. Their bodies can temporarily block pain, increase strength, and accelerate reaction time. It is a survival mechanism from their homeworld. From Earth? Yes, Earth. Palak watched the small human tear through the clixer like they were nothing. A world where everything tried to kill them. The weather tried to kill them. The animals tried to kill them. The plants tried to kill them. Even the tiny organisms in the water tried to kill them. They did not just survive. They conquered. And they brought that ability to conquer into their very blood. On the screen, Yuna killed the last clixer with her bare hands. The creature's mandibles scraped uselessly against her shoulder as she drove her thumbs into its eyes. She stood alone in a circle of simulated corpses. Her breath came in ragged gasps. The pain she had been ignoring was finally catching up with her. But she did not stop. She turned toward the tower and started walking. Gorath met her halfway. The massive rock creature had come back for her after delivering Elri to safety. He said nothing. He simply picked her up and carried her the rest of the way. Team 7 reached the extraction point with 11 minutes to spare. The moment the simulation ended, Yuna collapsed. Her body finally surrendered to its wounds. Medical drones rushed to her side, but even as they worked on her injuries, she was laughing. "What is funny?" Drevik demanded. His voice was raw with emotion. He had carried her the last kilometer after Gorath grew too tired. "You almost died. You asked what kind of warrior I was," Yuna whispered. "Back at the beginning. You wondered why the humans sent someone so small, so fragile. I was wrong about you. No, you were right." She smiled up at him, at all of them. "I am fragile. Every human is. We have no armor, no claws, no venom. We break easily. We bleed easily." Her eyes found the observation window far above where she knew Palak was watching. "But we never stop. We never give up. We just keep going. That is what makes us dangerous. That is what makes us Deathworlders." Drevak sat down heavily beside her. His scales were still pale. His hands were still shaking from the battle. "On my world," he said slowly, "we have a word, Creven. It means the one who leads to hunt. The one who shows others how to be true predators." He met her eyes. "You are Creven Unipark, and I am honored to hunt beside you." Elri limped over, supported by Gorath. Her leg was bandaged but healing. Her 4 eyes were bright with something that looked like tears. "My people have a similar idea," she said. "We call it Elvani, the voice that calls others to courage." She took Yuna's hand. "You called us today." We answered. "I will never forget that." Gorath rumbled his agreement. His rocky face did not show expressions, but his voice was warm. The exam results were posted the next morning. Team 7 had achieved the highest score in Academy history. They had completed a clixer scenario designed for final year cadets. They had done it in their first year. They had done it with 0 deaths. Instructor Palak summoned Yuna to his office. "You knew," he said without any greeting. "You knew I was going to give your class something extreme." "How? You have been teaching for 40 years, Yuna said. She sat carefully, still sore from her wounds. "In that time, you have never given the same exam twice. You always push cadets past their training. This was our first exam, so you wanted to set the expectations immediately." She paused. "And the humans were receiving unfair treatment from certain cadets. You wanted to make a point. What point did I want to make?" "That judging someone by their appearance is a tactical error," Palax was silent for a long moment. Then, incredibly, he laughed. The sound was like wind chimes in a storm. "When my people first met humans, we thought you were a mistake," he said. "A species so physically weak from a world so hostile that you would surely destroy yourselves before reaching the stars." He shook his crystalline head. "We were wrong. You did not survive despite Earth. You survived because of it. Every hardship made you harder. Every predator made you smarter. Every disaster made you stronger." He stood, towering over her. "The galaxy calls Earth a death world. They use it as an insult. But I think they have it wrong." His voice dropped to something like wonder. "You are not simply from a world of death. You are a species forged by death itself. And now that you have reached the stars, the galaxy will never be the same." Yuna smiled. Not the predator's smile. Something warmer. "We do not want to conquer the galaxy, instructor. We just want to protect it. I believe you." Palax extended a crystalline limb toward her, his species' version of a handshake. "Welcome to the Academy, Cadet Park. I look forward to seeing what else you will redefine." Years later, Admiral Yuna Park stood on the bridge of the warship Indomitable. She commanded a fleet from 100 different worlds. Beside her stood Vice Admiral Drevok, Ambassador Elry, and General Gorth. They had followed her from that first exam through a dozen campaigns, through victories and losses, through peace and war. The galaxy had called humans fragile once, weak, prey. Yuna had taught them a new word, human. It meant never stopping, never surrendering, never giving up. It meant getting knocked down 1,000 times and standing up 1,001. It meant being fragile and being unstoppable at the same time. The stars stretched out before her, full of dangers and wonders and possibilities. Somewhere out there, new threats were gathering. New challenges were waiting. Admiral Yuna Park smiled and gave her orders. The hunt continued,